hey, check that out. They've even spelled crunch in magnetic letters on the fridge here. It's almost like that's referencing something from another Crash 4, but I don't know. I think I made that up.
The main cast has been intelligently redesigned, made appealing and above all, easy to read. Cole has been vocal about going back not just to the original drawings by Charles M. Billas and his influences, but also the many different takes over the years, along with some modern ingenuity.
Then we have Kapuna Wa, who allows you to slow time down to a crawl for around 5 seconds at a time, kill enemies easier, get across moving obstacles easier, and even walk across or bounce on top of nitro crates just before they explode, which takes that stupid, annoying, pointless tiptoe power-up from Wrath of Cortex and turns it into something way more responsive, way more interesting, and allows you to link more platforming segments together instead of being able to use it only like twice in the entire game because you have to make sure that you tiptoe in a straight line on top of the row of nitro boxes because you can't even jump on top of the nitros even if you're holding the tiptoe button. It is so stupid.
There was one word I found myself writing a couple times in my notes, and it was
inspired.
And I do feel like it sums up its use of the history. Obviously, there's a huge amount of references to things from the original trilogy, even subtle integrations that justify the canon of the spin-offs. Though equally impressive are the callbacks and the level construction as much as the aesthetics. You might find some challenges strikingly familiar to the stuff you've been through in the past, as if you're visiting alternate dimension versions of them with different skills so many years later. However, it's not half as interesting as the way so many of the other sequels have been integrated into the makeup of the game, influencing the shape Crash 4 has taken.
One of the best things about Crash 4 to me is how it takes elements, ideas, and mechanics from all the other Crash games and blends them together seamlessly to give you an almost compilation best of everything we love about Crash games. Yes, it even references the bad ones. You've got the overworld map with level-by-level progression, chase sequences, and tricky platforming from Crash 1, secret items awarded to you for not dying, jetboard riding in swamps, and animal riding from Crash 2, the time trial relics, excellent boss design, and super spin gliding on occasion from Crash 3, the 4 new masks introduced, longer levels, and ball rolling from Wrath of Cortex, the multiple playable characters, already unlocked double jump, grappling hook mechanic, separate hidden gems in each level, and brief bad guy team up from Twinsanity, the multiple unlockable costumes from Tag Team Racing, the choice to switch between Crash or Coco whenever you want like in the Insane trilogy, even Road to Nowhere from Crash 1 makes a return, which is everyone's favorite.
4 masks which offer unique powers, a multi-dimensional adventure with alternate versions of the characters, a big fat dingo dial going solo, Cortex getting his mojo back, a little rolling ball, a feud between the Doctors, a lab in the iceberg, a city above the clouds. Falling.
I wasn't a big fan of the hitbox on her spin kick. I think it was a little bit too high for my liking, but it reminded me too much of Coco's kick from Wrath of Cortex for me to care.
I haven't even touched the numerous cameos dotted around the place.
Not to mention, the references to older games and background details are absolutely everywhere, from Wrath of Cortex to Twinsanity, and even the GBA games.
I liked these secret imprints of the elemental masks in a level reminiscent of Wrath's pitch video, and each is found in a section that best represents their element. It's pretty darn clever.
Sure, I admit that I really missed the Crash 2 and 3 approach of having surprise level themes thrown together into each world and giving you the choice on which to go for in any order you want, but I don't care that much because I would do the levels in order anyway, and I'm willing to look at that style of progression as a callback both to Crash 1, where you do multiple levels one after the other in a similar theme, and to Twinsanity, where you do multiple stages in one specific location before moving on to the next one. And all of this isn't even going into the amounts of moments from regular stages where box placements copy other levels from the original trilogy, or the amount of different classic Crash boss attacks that were given new life or tweaked entirely for the better. When did I break that finger? The engine fight for a first boss is incredible and basically just a slightly more complex entropy from Crash 3. Avoid lasers and then run up to attack him while getting your head around some platforming under a time limit. Brio is basically a more aggressive and more interesting version of his own fight from Crash 1, but with a little bit of Tiny Tiger from Crash 3 as he follows you around trying to crush you, then ending things off with the spinning enemy off of the edge idea from Cortex's final fight in Crash 3. Cortex's first battle reminded me a lot of Tiny from Crash 3 as well, for how many things are flying towards you across the entire length of the screen, and he gave me Crash 2 engine vibes from all the falling missiles, and even reminded me of the shrinking platform idea from the Bearinator in Crash Bash. Entropy's fight reminded me a lot of Mega Mix from the Huge Adventure on Game Boy Advance, since it's more of a fast-paced running platforming challenge than a boss, and the final Cortex battle is a mix of tons of different shit. Tiny from Crash 2 with all the platforms falling, Koala Kong from Crash 1 with you needing to fire projectiles back at him, Crunch's final battle in Wrath of Cortex for how all of the new masks are used against you at once, and Engine from Crash 2 with those lasers that dart across the screen and you have to jump or duck under. The best thing though is that if you're a Crash fan, you'll get a kick out of all of this, but if you aren't a Crash fan, it's irrelevant because all the levels and bosses by themselves are so tightly designed that it stands out and excels purely on its own merits. The noticeable gameplay callbacks at that point just become a bonus.
Everything is relevant, and no good idea is totally left behind. In many ways, the game is enhanced by any knowledge of the wider series for those looking closer, means that the history still matters, but it's not compulsory to enjoy yourself, and that's great. Everybody wins. Suggest further mashups down the line, or whatever else they want to do. I'll take 10. The broader point is that these aren't arbitrary choices. As I hoped it might, it takes those ideas from the classics or the sequels and refines them into something purposeful, keen to show us what it's learnt from the past. But what puts their answer from a B to an A is how it builds on that with the confidence of its own ideas, showing how the gameplay and brand can evolve, while crucially, not compromising on the unique identity of its developer. It's a Crash sequel, but it's definitely toys for Bob's baby. And I have the DNA test here to prove it. Even outside those callbacks, it's obvious this team has the voice down and can take it further into new territories. I'm thrilled about the excitement the team has for the world it's taken on, how they've embraced it. It's rare to find folks working on a legacy brand who recognise not just the importance of the gameplay, but also how to frame that gameplay, granting it the appropriate voice and tone and finding the fun through the guidelines. An art just as important in the life of a brand like this, in spite of those who will tell you to stop nitpicking, bruh. Yeah, we'd all love Crash 4 the exact same if it was a bunch of wireframes and the levels were floating in a void. That'll show those artists, yeah. Only nitpicker losers would have a meeting debating the inclusion of minute intricacies they think might add to our experience. Bunch of squares, babe. Get on the bike. Nah, friendo. This is living proof of why details matter, why you love it when they get it right, and why people with this kind of talent deserve recognition for taking an opportunity and giving a damn. Don't know what straw man I'm supposed to be talking to anymore, but mark my words, Crash 4 is a fine, sick-ass, nasty boom bag, don't run time, and it's safe video game. This is not a total regurgitation. It is a proper, well-studied sequel. In the way the classics stepped to each subsequent game, from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, this is a wonderful bridge from Crash 3 to the modern day, built with its own creativity and technical skill, as well as using whatever materials it needed from those 20 plus years in between.